35 minutes left on the clock, and still no sign of a lap from Lindo.
He's likely just holding back, waiting for the track temp to climb before he puts some rubber down.
Norton's gone 49.3 there, putting himself firmly in the mix at P2. Giacon's still sitting in the pits, while the rest of the field is already dialing in their pace.
He's probably looking at Norton's telemetry right now, trying to figure out where that extra tenth is hiding before he burns his fuel.
Bodkin is sitting at 49.4, just 2 hundredths off Norton, holding down fourth. Norton just found a heap of time. He's dipped into the 48s to jump to the top of the board.
That's a massive jump. He must have absolutely nailed that final sector to drop half a second like that. Bodkin is stagnating a bit. He's been stuck on that 49.4 for a few laps now, while Norton has already found clear air.
Norton is looking comfortable up front. He hasn't been back to the pits since that flyer. Lindo finally shows his hand, and he's only 2 thousandths off the top spot. Walters is languishing down in 6th, struggling to get under that 50-second barrier.
He's fighting a bit of understeer in the mid-corner. Until he balances that car out, he's going to keep scrubbing speed off the apex.
Bodkin is still stuck in that 49.4 rut. He needs to find a change in his line if he wants to catch the leaders. Norton's still our benchmark, but with Lindo just 2 thousandths back, he's definitely not got any room to breathe. Better from Walters, he's chipped a few tenths off his best to nudge up into 5th. Bodkin just can't seem to break into the 48s, sitting at 49.4 for what feels like an eternity now.
He's overdriving it, Hal. I can see him locking the fronts every time he pitches it into the tight sections. He needs to calm his inputs down.
Walters is hovering right behind Bodkin, only about a tenth and a half between them.
He's got a better rhythm than Phil at the moment. If he keeps this up, he'll be looking for a way past soon.
Bodkin just had a massive moment exiting the final corner, nearly put it into the wall.
He's lucky to keep it on the black stuff, but he's absolutely cooked his rear tires on that recovery.
Still silence from the Bountaki's garage. He's the only one left who hasn't put a time on the board.
He's either playing a very dangerous game with the clock, or they've got a gremlin in the setup they're scrambling to fix.
Add Tyus to the list of ghosts. He's still waiting for a clear track before he logs his first flyer. Bodkin is back out after that near miss, looking to see if he can salvage some confidence in these closing minutes. Bontikis is finally rolling out of the pits. Better late than never, I suppose. Lindo is looking incredibly stable. He's barely deviated from that 48.7 pace since his last run. A 49.6 for Bountakis straight out of the box. He's straight into 6th place with that opening effort. Fovarg is the final holdout. Still no time on the board as we head into the second half of practice. Bonticus is clearly not up to speed yet, still sitting in P6 and losing a chunk of time in the technical sectors. Cormac slots into 8th with a 49.6. He's just finding his feet out there.
He's keeping it tidy, but he's too cautious on the throttle exiting the hairpins. He's leaving a lot of time on the table.
Bodkin is pushing again, trying to find that missing pace after his earlier mistake.
He looks more settled now, but he needs to stop wrestling the wheels so much if he wants to stay in the 49s.
Gio Keegan finally breaks the silence with a 49.6, putting him 9th on the leaderboard.
He's got a lot of work to do. He's carrying way too much speed into the apex and missing his exit point on every single turn.
Still nothing from Constable Barry. He's cutting it fine if he wants any meaningful setup time.
Either they've got a major mechanical issue, or he's just sitting there waiting for the track to rubber in completely.
Where did that come from? Fovarg vaults straight up to 3rd with a 49.0.
That was a masterclass in efficiency. He took the cleanest line I've seen all session. He's right in the hunt now.
Bontakis has slipped back to 8th as the rest of the pack starts to find some rhythm. Norton remains the man to beat, but with Fovarg surging into 3rd, that top 3 is looking mighty tight. than never for Constable Barry. He fires in a 49.2 to jump straight into 6th. Bounticus is sliding down the order, falling to 9th as the field continues to find extra pace. Norton is still the one setting the standard, though he's been remarkably quiet in the pits for the last few minutes. Mull slots into 5th, finding a 49.1 on his latest run.
He's very close to Fogard's pace. If he can tidy up the mid-sector, he'll be knocking on the door of the top 3.
Constable Barry has slipped to 7th as the times continue to tumble across the board. McFarquhar just put in a serious flyer, jumping all the way to 4th with a 48.8. Cormac's been pushed all the way down to 13th now. The competition is really heating up.
He's losing all his time in the heavy braking zones. He's just not committing enough to the pedal.
McFarquhar is looking really punchy in this session. That 48.8 keeps him well within striking distance of the leaders. Constable Barry just shaved a couple of tenths off his best to nudge up to 6th.
He's starting to find a rhythm, but he's still losing about 2 tenths to the leaders in the technical section.
Cormac finds some much-needed pace, jumping into the top 10 with a 49.2.
Much better. He finally stopped tiptoeing around those corners and started using the full width of the track.
Bountes is really struggling for one-lap pace, sitting down in 12th now.
He looks lost out there. He keeps over-rotating the car and is constantly having to catch it on the exit.
Maul has found a massive chunk of time. He's into the 48s now, and just a hair off McFarker.
He's got the bit between his teeth. That was a tidy lap, very smooth through the high-speed section.
Lindo's been knocked down to third, but he's still within a breath of that front row. Walters is trying to climb back up the order, but he's still stuck in the 49s down in 11th.
He's fighting a losing battle with his own setup. That car is just too stiff for this track surface.
Cormac is on a charge. He's just punched in a 49.1 to climb up into 8th.
He's finally got the braking points dialed in, carrying way more momentum into the apex now.
Norton has been bumped out of the top spot. He's down in second now.
He'll be fuming. He knows he has more in the car. He just needs to put a clean lap together without that little twitch he's had in the final sector.
Bounticus is sliding further down the order, now sitting in 13th and looking a bit demoralized.
He needs to head back to the pits, stop overthinking the data, and just reset his rhythm entirely.
Hallam slides into 9th with a 49.2. He's really making his presence felt in these final stages.
He's keeping it safe, but there's a few tenths left on the table if he dares to brush the limit of track adhesion.
Norton is back out, looking to reclaim that top spot with just over 10 minutes remaining.
He's got to be careful not to push too hard on an outlap. Keeping the tire temp stable is everything right now.
Constable Barry putting the work in, but he's still hovering outside the top 10 and 11.
He's losing all his momentum on the exit of the main straight. That's where the time is dying for him.
Where did that come from? Walters just vaulted from the back of the pack all the way up to second with an incredible 48.6. Farquhar is right on the money, just 0.02 off Walters now with that 48.68. Cormac is holding station in ninth, but the gaps around him are absolutely tiny. Gio Hegan has been pushed back to 14th as the field continues to find extra pace.
He's still struggling with the same fundamental issue. He's just too aggressive on the throttle, and the rear end is paying the price.
Walters is showing some serious pace now, keeping the pressure on the leaders with that 48.6.
He's finding grip where there shouldn't be any. That last sector was surgical.
Bonticus needs to find something special. He's currently 13th and looking like he's plateaued. Gio Kagan is still mired down in 14th, looking like he's just trying to survive these final few minutes.
He's basically resigned himself to a bad result. His body language in that car, if you could call it that, is just totally flat.
Norton responds to the pressure, punching in a 48.64 to reclaim the top spot by a whisker. Hallam is holding on to 10th, but he's got a train of cars breathing down his neck right now.
He needs to focus on his own lines and stop checking the mirrors. He's losing focus, and it's costing him tenths through the technical chicane.
Constable Barry is slipping down the order again, down to 13th now.
He's fighting an uphill battle with the balance. It looks like the rear is just too loose on entry.
Now several laps into the session, now Gagan looks to refine their line and timing. Only 3 minutes left, and Constable Barry is running out of time to find that extra pace in the rear end. Farquhar is still holding on to that third spot, but he's only a tenth off the lead.
He's been consistent all session, Hal, but he needs to find a little extra bravery on the brakes to close that final gap.
David Constable Barry is hanging on in 7th, keeping his nose clean, while the top of the board is absolute chaos.
He's been the quiet achiever today, just methodical. If he can nail this final run, he could easily sneak into the top 5.
Mull is knocking on the door of the top 5, holding 6th and looking hungry for more as the clock ticks down under 2 minutes. Cormac is giving it everything he's got, still clinging to 9th as he tries to find those final few hundredths. Less than a minute to go, and Constable Barry is absolutely pushing the limits of that car now.
He's really attacking the curbs on this lap. It's high risk, but it's the only way he's going to find that final half second.
A last-ditch effort from Neil Constable Barry brings him into the top 10 just as the clock hits the final 20 seconds.
He found a bit of rhythm finally, but he's still leaving a lot of time on the table through the exit of the final corner.
Lindo's crossed the line, but he hasn't moved the needle. He finishes the session sitting in 6th. Tyus is languishing in 15th with only seconds to go. This has been a really tough outing for him.
He's been chasing a balance that just isn't there. And with no time left, he's stuck with what he's got.
Let's get this qualifying session underway here at Talladega Superspeedway.
I think there's a few drivers out there who have the pace to stick in on pole.
Mac McFarquhar is still sitting in the garage while everyone else is out there clawing for track position.
He's playing a dangerous game, waiting for the track to rubber in, but he's running out of time to find a clear pocket of air.
Lindo is still stationary in the pits. Meanwhile, the field is already starting to lean on their tires.
Every second he stays stationary is a second he's not learning where the grip levels are on this tarmac.
Still nothing on the board for Martin Moll, and at this rate, he's going to be starting his flying lap with half the field already finishing theirs.
McFarquhar is finally rolling, but he's missed that optimal window where the track temp was rising perfectly.
And there goes Moll, finally leaving the pits with just over 8 minutes to hunt down a gap in the traffic. Constable Barry is finally heading out, leaving it incredibly late to get a representative lap in.
He's going to be fighting for space on the track, and that's going to cost him time in the middle sector.
Tyus is finding more pace on this second run, lighting up the sectors 0.3 faster than his previous best. Tyus improves, but he's actually slipped 2 spots down the order as the rest of the pack finds their rhythm.
He's fighting the car through the technical sections. He needs a cleaner exit out of that final turn if he wants to climb back into the top 5.
Walters is really hooking it up this time, half a second up on his previous pace.
He's finding the limit early. If he keeps this sector time, he'll be pushing the top 5, not just the back of the top 10.
McFarquhar is looking sharp, falling back over a 10th as he looks to improve on that 7th place. Hallam is making massive gains, half a second up on his previous best as he tries to drag himself out of the bottom half of the field.
He's finally found the rhythm, but he's got a mountain to climb if he wants to break into the top 10 before the session gets away from him.
Gio Kagan is absolutely flying now, over 0.6 up on his previous best. That's a massive step forward. Constable Barry is finally putting a decent sequence together, 4.5 up on the pace he showed earlier.
He's finally settled the car down. He was struggling with a bit too much rotation on the entry before, but he seems to have reined that in.
Walters is on a charge, finding another 0.3 to consolidate that third position.
He's still chipping away at it, but he needs to find a lot more than just 2.5 if he wants to jump into the mix.
Fovargue is making incremental gains, but with just 1/10 of an improvement, he's going to need a much bigger jump to climb out of the basement of this qualifying order. That jump brings Fovarg up into the top 10, a vital improvement with time starting to vanish.
He's found a bit more bravery on the brakes, which is exactly where he needed to be deeper to make that time stick.
Hallam is just barely flirting with a new personal best, barely 0.02 of a second in the green.
He's right at the edge of the tire window now. He needs to be careful not to overheat the surface, or that gain's going to vanish in the final sector.
Fovarg is struggling to replicate that pace, currently over 0.1 off his previous best as he slips back out of the top 10. Tyus is putting everything on the line, just edging ahead of his own benchmark by a couple of hundredths.
Gio Keegan is really pushing the car's limits now. If he holds on to this pace, he's going to be a real threat to the top 4.
Gio again couldn't quite shave those final few hundredths off to improve his standing.
He's got the pace, but he's pushing the front end too hard. He needs to dial back the aggression if he wants to find the true limit of that front grip.
Martin Mole is making moves, finding 0.2 that would put him right in the mix for the second row. That effort didn't yield an improvement for Mole, and time is really starting to squeeze the field now.
He's overdriving the car in the middle section. If he wants to find that extra time, he needs to trust the chassis and settle the rear end down.
Cormac is showing a flash of speed, 0.2 up on his personal best.
It's a step in the right direction, but with under 3 minutes left, he's going to need a miracle to escape the bottom half of the grid.
Mole is finding a little more time again, keeping it clean and hoping to chip away at that gap to the leaders.
He's being much tidier through the apexes this time around. He clearly listened to his own feedback from that last run.
I don't know about you, but I think Robert Cormac might have a secret rocket booster hidden in their car. They're just that fast. Looks like Jimmy Lindo is channeling their inner Schumacher today. They're absolutely flying out there. Huge improvement from Jimmy Lindo. He rockets up into P2 with that sub-49 second flyer.
That was absolute precision driving. He's taking a very aggressive line on entry, and it's clearly paying dividends now that the track is finally coming to him.
Walters is showing some late session grit, dipping another 0.1 under his personal best.
He knows he's sliding down the order. He's pushing the braking zones to the absolute limit to try and snatch that front row back.
A tiny bit more time for Walters, but he remains stuck in fourth as the clock ticks down under a minute. Cormac is giving it everything he's got, finding another 0.1 to try and cement that top 10 spot. Fovarg is squeezing a little more out of the car, but with only 30 seconds on the clock, this might be his final chance to break back into the top 10. Cormac's latest effort has completely fallen off the cliff. He's over 0.6 slower than his best.
He's cooked those tires, Hal. He pushed too hard on the outlap, and he's paying the price with absolutely zero grip in the final sector.
That looks like a massive mistake for Neil Constable-Berry. He's over 4 seconds off the pace on this lap.
He's clearly had a moment off track, lost the momentum, and now he's just cruising home to end the session. That's a real shame for his qualifying prospects.
Wind is whipping across the banking at 9 miles per hour, which is going to make this pack racing a real handful as the lights get ready to go out. Norton's got the prime spot in the 2020 Nascar, looking to set the pace right from the drop of the green.
He's got to be careful not to be a sitting duck. Leading that train is an absolute nightmare if the guys behind start drafting.
Walters is showing some serious speed to line up third in his Nascar, keeping pace with the pro guys as an AM entry. Stokes sitting pretty in fourth. He'll be looking to hook onto the back of that lead trio immediately.
He's in the perfect spot to pick up a tow. Stay tucked in his slipstream, and he could be looking at a move before we even hit the first banking.
Martimo lines up sixth, right in the thick of the pack, where the dirty air starts to get really unpredictable. Niall Gagan finds himself in seventh, a solid starting point for an AM driver looking to avoid the early race chaos.
He needs to focus on his mirrors here. The closing speeds in this draft are massive, and he won't want to get swallowed up by the faster cars behind.
Rich Snape rounds out that fourth row in eighth.
He's got a mountain of horsepower to manage, and in this traffic, one wrong lift, and he'll be shuffled right to the back of the line.
Cormac is tucked into ninth, probably hoping to stay out of the mid-pack squeeze as they barrel into the first corner. Holland completes the top 10, needing to balance that Pro-Am experience to survive the high-speed chess match unfolding ahead of him. Tyus is sitting just outside the top 10, watching that lead pack start to organize their lines before the start. McFarquhar is way back in 12th, which is a lot of work to do in that NASCAR if he wants to challenge the front-runners today. Fovarg is lining up an unlucky 13th, surrounded by a swarm of hungry drivers.
He needs to pick a lane and stick to it. Hesitation in this part of the field is exactly how you end up 3 wide and going nowhere.
Constable Barry rounds out the back of the pack, facing a tall order to fight through this NASCAR field from 14th. And Neil Constable Barry brings up the rear of the grid in that 15th spot.
He's got a clear view of the carnage ahead, which might actually be a blessing if the lead pack decides to get aggressive off the line.
The safety car lights are off, and we are rolling under a steady pace to bring this field up to speed for the green flag at Talladega.
Everyone's just weaving now, trying to get some heat into those tires and keep the pressures up for the start.
It's that nervous energy you can see in the way they're bunching up. Nobody wants to be the one to jump the gun before we get to the line. The field is snaking through the tri-oval, that V8 rumble building, as they prepare to let these engines loose.
I'm watching the gaps. Nobody wants to give an inch already, but they need to be careful with the aero wake in these close quarters.
Norton is holding a steady pace at the front, dictating the tempo for the rest of the pack behind him.
He's playing it cool, but he'll be waiting for that exact moment to jump on the throttle and break the toe early.
The safety car is peeling off into the pits, so the control is officially in Norton's hands now.
He's going to wait until the very last second to commit, trying to keep those guys behind him from getting a run on the banking.
Safety car in this lap.
Norton is slowing the field to a crawl, clearly trying to prevent anyone from building a massive run on him before they hit the start line.
It's a delicate balance. You want to slow them down, but you don't want to get rear-ended by someone who's just a bit too eager.
Everyone is bunched tight now, nose to tail as they approach the green.
I remember this feeling vividly. Your heart is hammering against your ribs, and your only thought is to hit your marks exactly when the flag drops.
The tension is palpable as they drag the speed way down through the final complex, everyone looking for that perfect exit.
It's all about throttle application now. You floor it too early, and you're a sitting duck for the cars in the slipstream.
Norton's waiting, and there it is. The green flag is flying.
And we are live at Talladega. Watch them fan out across the width of the track immediately.
Green, 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 let's go.
Green flag. We are underway, and look at the immediate aggression as they dive 3 wide into the first banking. Tyus has held on to 11th, but McFarcar is right there, hovering just 0.3 behind in the slipstream.
Mac is definitely hunting. He's already closed up from the back, and at these speeds, that gap will vanish the second he pulls out of the tow.
Snape is holding the line in 12th, but Fovarg is glued to his rear bumper with only 1/10 of a second separating them as they storm into the banking. Snape has climbed up to 11th, though Fovarg is still snapping at his heels, hanging on by just 0.2 as they fight through this pack. Snape is really finding a groove, carving his way up to 10th, but Fovarg has been dragged right along with him, just 1/10 off his tail now. Stokes is glued to the leaders in 3rd, but he's got Walters breathing down his neck with absolutely nothing between them on the timing screen. Stokes has just slipped back to 4th, and Walters has officially muscled his way past into the podium spot.
He'll be furious with himself for letting that gap close to 0. At Talladega, once you lose the lead of a draft line, it's incredibly tough to fight back into the stream.
Stokes has tumbled back to 7th, while Walters has pulled off a masterclass to surge all the way to the front.
That's a huge swing. Stokes has lost his momentum in the middle of this chaos, and now he's got to work his way through the entire lead pack just to see the back of that leader again.
Stokes is glued to the rear bumper of Mull, just 1/10 of a second separating them as they look for a way to break back into the top 5. Stokes has finally cleared Mull, moving up to 6th in this relentless shuffle.
He made that stick perfectly, but he can't get comfortable. Mull is still right there in the tow, looking for any opening to snatch that spot back.
Stokes continues his charge, picking off another one to take 5th, though he's got to stay sharp with Mull still looming 0.2 back in the train. Cormac is doing a fine job holding 9th, but Hallam is looking dangerous, sitting just 1/10 behind him as they navigate the high-speed banking. Cormac has managed to climb into 8th, but he's still got Hallam shadowing his every move.
He's got to be careful not to get too defensive here. If he blocks too hard, he'll just lose his own momentum and allow the rest of the pack to swallow them both up.
Cormac has taken a slide back to 11th, with Hallam now comfortably ahead by 0.3.
He's lost the draft of that lead group, and once you get dropped here at Talladega, it is an absolute nightmare to bridge that gap back alone.
Mull is desperately trying to hold on to 7th, but Hallam is absolutely glued to his gearbox with just 1/10 of a second in it.
Martin needs to stop looking in his mirrors and focus on the car ahead, or he's going to invite Jareth to make a move right into the next corner.
Mull has slipped back to 9th, losing touch with Hallam, who's now pulled out a 0.3 cushion as the pack continues to churn. Disaster for Mull, he's tumbled all the way back to 14th and is now staring at an 8-second gap to Hallam.
That is a massive loss of position. He must have been shuffled out of the draft entirely, and at these speeds, there's no way he's clawing that back without a major incident ahead.
Walters has been shuffled back to 4th, and now he's got Gagan right on his bumper with nothing between them.
These two are locked in a dead heat. If Gagan can keep this pressure up, Walters
Yellow
is going
flag,
to have to
safety
make a
cars
choice
out.
between defending his line or losing the draft to the cars ahead.
Yellow flag, the safety car is out on track. Massive incident back in the pack, and race control has had to neutralize this field.
That is a huge moment for the leaders. All those gaps they fought so hard to build just evaporated in an instant.
It is incredible how quickly the complexion of a Talladega race changes once that yellow flag flies.
It really is, Hal. You can be running a perfect race, managing your tires in the air, and one mistake 3 cars behind you ruins your entire strategy.
I was watching Maul earlier. He went from the sharp end of the field to the back of the pack in what felt like a single lap.
That is the brutal nature of superspeedway racing. You miss one draft shift, you get left out in the wind, and suddenly you are just a passenger in the dirty air.
And poor Walters, he looked so comfortable at the front, and now he is just cruising behind the pace car wondering how to restart this.
He is going to be stressing about his front end temps now. Idling under caution is the last thing these NASCARs want to do.
The safety car is on the move, leading the pack around while the marshals clear the debris from that shunt.
Everyone will be breathing a sigh of relief, but they need to keep their focus. A restart here can be just as chaotic as the race start itself.
It is wild to see the field bunched up again after what has been a total war of attrition out there.
This is where the mental game kicks in, Hal. You've been white-knuckling it for minutes, and now you've got to reset your focus while your heart rate is still through the roof.
And you can see the drivers weaving behind the safety car, just trying to scrub their tires and get that last bit of heat into the sidewalls.
Exactly, and you can't afford to be lazy with it. If your pressures drop while we're under caution, you're going to be a sitting duck for the first 2 laps after the restart.
We have seen some absolute masterclasses in racecraft today, despite how messy it has gotten further back in the pack.
It is all about discipline. And unfortunately for some of the guys today, the temptation to force a move before the draft is ready has been their downfall.
The safety car is staying out for another lap as the sweepers finish up at turn 3.
Smart move by race control. That debris is right on the racing line, and you do not want these guys hitting that at speed once we go green again.
It is amazing how the dynamic shifts when the pit window starts to become a factor in these longer races.
You are constantly calculating fuel windows in your head, Hal. It is less about racing the guy next to you and more about racing your own fuel gauge.
And you have got the Pro-Am drivers trying to balance that aggression against saving their machinery for the final 10 minutes.
That is where the experience gap shows. A pro driver knows how to tickle the car through the corner to save fuel, while an AM is often pushing 100% everywhere.
We have seen plenty of pushing today, that is for sure, especially with how tight the margins are in the middle of the pack.
It is a recipe for disaster if they keep that up under the restart, but that is the VVS for you. Nobody leaves anything on the table.
The safety car is out on track, bringing the pack under control as we deal with some debris on the circuit.
This could be an opportunity for some drivers to pit ahead of the pack.
Of course, the safety car can really shake up the race order. Drivers need to stay alert and be ready to react as soon as we get the green light.
It's a tricky balance. They don't want to waste too much time behind the safety car, but they also don't want to burn out their tires too quickly trying to catch up.
It is funny how much the atmosphere inside the cockpit changes when the safety car lights are on.
Oh, it is deafeningly quiet compared to the roar of the V8s, but your brain is actually working twice as hard trying to plan the restart.
You are talking about the chess match of picking the right line before the green flag drops.
Exactly. You are looking at your rivals, trying to see who is getting impatient, who is overheating, and who is just waiting to pounce.
I have always been fascinated by how these Pro-Am drivers navigate the pressure of having a faster car right on their gearbox.
I have been that driver. And let me tell you, it takes nerves of steel to keep your line while someone is testing your resolve every single corner.
The safety car lights are still burning, keeping this pack locked in a parade while the recovery team works on that wreck.
That looked like a heavy contact, the kind that can leave a car with a nasty vibration for the rest of the afternoon.
It really forces a reset for everyone. You go from full tilt pack racing to a cooling down period in a heartbeat.
And that is when the boredom can be dangerous, Hal. You start getting distracted or letting your focus slip just when you need to be sharpest.
It is funny how much the dynamic of this championship has evolved, even just since the start of this season.
The level of preparation has gone through the roof. I look at the telemetry some of these guys are analyzing now. It is nearly professional grade.
And yet, here we are at Talladega, where all that data goes out the window the second you get stuck in a three-wide sandwich.
That is the beauty of it. You can have the perfect setup, but if you do not have the racecraft to manage the air, you are going backwards.
I have been really impressed by how the AM-class drivers have held their own today, keeping it clean despite the pressure.
They have been remarkably disciplined. It is easy to panic when the pros start getting aggressive, but they have stayed calm and picked their moments.
The safety car is finally ducking into the lane, which means the control is back with Norton at the front.
He needs to be careful not to jump this restart. He's got a hungry pack right behind him, all waiting for him to make one tiny mistake.
We should be seeing the green flag as soon as they round the final bend, and the tension is absolutely through the roof.
You can bet every single one of them has their foot hovering over the pedal right now, just itching to break out of this formation.
Safety car in this lap.
Hailing from the quaint town of Melton Mowbray, Nigel must be really pumped to be here today.
Isn't that where they make all the pork pies?
It is, so let's hope he's not eating all the pies and giving himself some extra ballast. Norton is finally putting his foot down, and we are back to green flag racing at Talladega.
Hold on to your hats, because that entire pack just exploded into life the second they saw that flag.
Bodkin is holding fifth with Hallam breathing down his neck, just 3/10 back as they navigate the high-speed draft. Constable Barry is fending off Tyus in seventh with a 4/10 gap that's starting to look a little bit fragile.
He needs to be careful. If Tyus
Get
gets
ready,
a good
safety
run through
car's
the
clear.
that slipstream is going to pull him right past in a heartbeat.
Green, 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 let's go.
Constable Barry is holding firm in seventh, but Tyus has shaved another 10th off that gap, breathing down his neck at 3/10 now.
He is definitely feeling the heat. You can see him looking at his mirror more than the racing line, which is exactly how you lose your focus in these high-speed sections.
Walters is hunting down Stokes for that final podium spot, just 2/10 off his rear bumper.
He's positioned himself perfectly in the wake, but he needs to time his pull-out to perfection, or he'll just get stuck in the outside lane.
Cormac is working hard to close down the 6/10 to Gagan in that battle for 15th, but he's really got his work cut out for him to get back into the main pack. Cormac is really struggling to stay in touch now, drifting back to over a 1.5 seconds behind Gagan as the gap widens. Stokes is desperately trying to defend that third place, but Walters is glued to his rear bumper with only a 1/10 of a second in it. Oh, things are getting intense for Baldilocks. They're sandwiched between Walters and Jimmy Lindo, navigating this high-speed battleground. The gap to the car ahead is 0.1 seconds, while the car behind is only 0.1 seconds away. Mal has managed to claw his way back to 12th, sitting just 2/10 behind Fovarg.
He's been on a massive recovery drive since that earlier setback, but passing here in the mid-pack is a whole different beast compared to running in clean air.
Mal has successfully muscled his way past Fovarg to take 11th, and now it's Fovarg who is stuck fighting for scraps in the wake of the Dutch driver. Mal is on a serious charge, moving up into the top 10 now, with Fovarg just a couple of tenths back in the shuffle. Hallam is looking very sharp in 8th, putting immense pressure on Bodkin right in front of him with just a couple of tenths of a second to play with. Hallam has made the move stick, jumping up to 7th, while Bodkin is now the one forced to scramble to defend in the slipstream. Hallam is absolutely flying. He's up into 5th now after picking off another couple of cars in this chaotic sequence.
He's timing these runs to perfection, but Botkin is still hanging on to that lead draft in 7th, waiting for Hallam to leave a door wide open.
Snape is really putting the pressure on McFarquhar. He's sitting just a 10th behind in that fight for 13th.
He needs to stay tucked in tight. If he loses that toe, he's going to get swallowed by the guys behind who are moving a lot faster through the field right now.
Snape has successfully swiped 13th away from McFarquhar, turning the tables in that battle.
He made that look easy, but look at Mac diving back into the slipstream to try and reclaim it. This scrap is far from over.
McFarquhar has regained the upper hand, slipping back into 13th and leaving Snape to chase from just a 10th of a second behind. Hallam has dropped back to 8th, but he is practically glued to Bodkin's bumper, with only a 10th of a second separating them.
He's biding his time, which is the right call. You don't want to make your move too early and end up pushing the guy in front to victory while you get left out in the wind.
Great driving from Jareth Hallam, who has just gained a place and moved up to 5th.
Absolutely. Jareth Hallam is really putting on a clinic out there, and they're making it look easy.
Three cars in perfect formation, creating a moving train on the circuit. They're using the slipstream to gain an advantage, but who will make the decisive move? Fauvargue is putting in some solid work to hold 9th, with Constable Barry lurking just 2/10ths behind him.
He is in a real pressure cooker. The field is so compressed right now that one tiny mistake will send him falling down the order.
Fauvargue has slipped back to 12th, now finding himself in the mirror-checking position behind Constable Barry.
That's a tough shift in momentum. He's lost that draft advantage and now has to work twice as hard just to keep the leaders in his sights.
Walters is right in the mix now, sitting 3rd and hunting down Norton for that runner-up spot, with only a 10th of a second in it.
He is driving a really smart race, staying just close enough to draft but keeping his nose clean while the leaders battle for the point.
Walters has absolutely nailed the transition and surged into the lead, leaving Norton to scramble just a 10th of a second behind him. Heartbreak for Nigel Walters as they slip down the field. Fauvargue is doing everything he can to stay attached to Bountakis in the battle for 11th, holding steady at 2/10ths back. Fauvargue has snatched 11th, but he's lost the direct toe to Bountakis, who has managed to break away into 9th with a 3/10th cushion. Fauvargue is on an absolute tear, carving his way up to 9th, with Bountakis now fighting to hold on just a 10th behind.
He is showing some real patience now, waiting for the right moment to pull that car out and force a defensive move from the guys ahead.
Bountakis is locked onto the back of Martin Moll, with just a 10th of a second separating them in this fight for 9th. Bountis has moved up a spot to 9th, keeping the pressure on Moll, who's just a 10th of a second ahead of him now. A massive setback for Bountakis, who has plummeted all the way down to 13th and is now staring at a yawning 7.5 second gap to Moll. Constable Barry is holding on to 6th by the skin of his teeth, dead even with Moll right on his gearbox.
It is essentially a two-car drag race at this point. Whoever blinks first on the braking into the next turn is going to lose that spot.
Constable Barry has just surrendered 6th to Moll, and now he is fighting to keep his nose clean as he slips back to 7th.
He is being shuffled out of that line, and with the field this tight, he's lucky he hasn't been swallowed up by the entire train behind him.
Wow, Snape is really pushing hard to catch up to Mac. There's blood in the water for 11th place. Snape has climbed up to 11th, but McFarcar is refusing to let him breathe, sitting just a 10th behind as they push hard through the pack. Snape has just been pushed back to 12th, and now he's got to hunt down McFarcar, who stretched that gap out to 2/10. Walters is holding the podium, but Norton is absolutely glued to his rear bumper, with only a 10th of a second in it. Walters has been shuffled back to 4th, with Norton now taking the 3rd spot and forcing him to chase from just a 10th behind. Walters has fought his way back up to 3rd, but he's got work to do as he trails Norton by 2/10. Look at that. They're trading places in every turn, a constant game of cat and mouse. Each driver knows one mistake could cost them dearly.
No doubt about it, Hal. The battle for that same piece of tarmac is intense. The sparks flying and the close quarters racing showcase the incredible skill and nerve of these drivers.
A brilliant maneuver from Walters, who has just moved up the field.
Impressive. Nigel is really showing their skill and determination out there.
Fovarg is looking incredibly racy in 9th, hovering just 2/10 behind Constable Barry as this lead group begins to stretch out. What a move! Dominic Fovarg has moved up to 6th. Fovarg has absolutely charged through the order to claim 5th, leaving Constable Barry scrambling 3/10 back in 9th. It's a nail-biting showdown between these 3 drivers. They're nose to tail, pushing their limits in every corner.
Absolutely, Hal. The energy in the crowd is electric, and it's no wonder why. These drivers are leaving it all on the track, fighting tooth and nail for victory. It's anyone's guess who will come out on top.
A great moment for David, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings. David Constable Barry has vaulted up to 5th, with Neil now chasing him down from 7th, just 2/10 adrift.
It is family feuding out there, and David is holding his nerve beautifully, but he has got to keep his eyes forward if he wants to stay in the top 5.
No room for error here. Jareth is breathing down the neck of David Constable Barry, waiting for the perfect chance to make their move.
This battle between Jareth Hallam and DCB is so intense, you could cut the tension with a knife, or should I say with a front wing.
Disappointing for Hallam, they now find themselves in 10th.
Yes, but they can't give up. There's still plenty of time left in this race, and Hallam needs to push.
Stokes is ducking into the pits from 7th, a crucial stop with under 20 minutes to go that could completely reshape his race strategy. The pressure is on for Neil Constable Barry as they try to catch up to David. Neil has clawed his way up to 4th, but he's got a massive 4.5-second mountain to climb if he wants to catch David, who is sitting comfortably in 2nd. Maul is fighting for his life in 9th, dead level with Lindo as they battle through the draft. Maul has been squeezed out of that spot, dropping to 10th, while Lindo takes over 9th, with absolutely nothing between them on the timing screen. Heartbreak for Maul as they slip down the field. Maul has slipped back to 12th and is now hunting down Hallam, sitting just a 10th behind as the pressure builds in these final stages. A brilliant maneuver from Martin Mull, who has just moved up the field. Fantastic move from Maul, who has just gained a position.
That's what we like to see. Mole is really showing their class today.
It's a close race between Jareth Hallam and Walters in 10th. Hallam has managed to climb into 10th, but he's got Walters breathing down his neck at 2/10 back as the pack tightens up again. Hallam is really working his way up, now sitting in 8th with a comfortable half-second buffer over Walters in 11th. Snape is really putting the heat on McFarquhar, sitting just 2/10 away from that podium position as they round the bend. A great moment for Rich Snape, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings. Great driving from the mid-table Bandit, who has just gained a place and moved up to 3rd.
Amazing stuff. Focus and precision, what it's all about.
It's a thrilling pursuit as Snape is right behind Lord Farquaad, keeping the pressure on for 2nd place. Snape has vaulted all the way up to 2nd, and McFarquhar is now the one on the defensive, holding on for dear life, just a 10th behind.
That's a brilliant surge from Snape. He's perfectly positioned to challenge for the win if he can just keep his cool under this much pressure.
A tough moment for Rich, who has just lost a place, dumping them down to 3rd. This is what separates the best from the rest. These drivers are demonstrating their racecraft, searching for any weakness to exploit. It's a true test of skill.
You're absolutely right, Hal. The level of respect these drivers have for each other while pushing their limits is commendable. It's a testament to their professionalism and love for the sport.
Hold your breath, folks. Lindo is sandwiched between 2 relentless competitors. Mull's 0.1 seconds behind, and Knockoff Nigel 0.1 seconds ahead. They're fighting tooth and nail for every position.
Absolutely, Hal. The pressure is mounting for Jimmy Lindo as they navigate through this challenging situation. It's crucial for them to remain focused and make calculated moves.
This is where legends are made. Which driver will rise to the occasion and claim victory?
If this battle ends in tears, it could be like watching a high-speed domino effect, but let's hope they keep it clean and avoid any unplanned games.
The pressure is really on for Jareth Hallam in 10th as Martin Mull is closing in. This is where experience and skill really count. It seems like Hallam has got the bit between their teeth, improving on Mull's lap time there.
The question is now, can Martin respond to that in kind? They are going to have to pick up the pace.
The crowd is on their feet, roaring with excitement. It's an all-out war between these 3 drivers. Who will emerge victorious? Your guess is as good as mine.
Exactly, Hal. It's like a high-stakes chess match on wheels. These drivers are analyzing every move and trying to anticipate their opponent's next move. It's a true test of their mental acuity.
Oh, things are getting intense for Lindo. They're sandwiched between Hallam and Walters, navigating this high-speed battleground. The gap to the car ahead is 0.1 seconds, while the car behind is only 0.1 seconds away. Stokes is holding on to 4th, but he's got Norton right in his mirrors, lurking just 2/10 back as they thunder down the back straight. Stokes has forced his way into the top 3, but Norton is showing incredible tenacity, clinging to his bumper with only 1/10 of a second separating them. Oh, the frustration must be building for Chris. They've just lost 3rd position to Elliott Norton, and they're going to have to work hard to get it back. Constable Barry is fighting hard down in 16th, trying to snatch 15th away from Cormac with just 1/10 of a second between them. Constable Barry has successfully muscled his way into 15th, leaving Cormac to fight for crumbs just a whisper behind.
He had to be aggressive there to make that pass stick. At this stage, you cannot afford to leave any daylight for the guy behind to retaliate.
The action is non-stop as Stokes shadows Elliott Norton through every twist and turn, determined to claim third. It's a tale of two drivers right now, with Chris gaining places and Elliott Norton losing.
Absolutely. Stokes is showing great pace and determination, but they can't get too confident. There are still plenty of challenges ahead.
A setback for Stokes, who has just been passed. Things are heating up as Robert Cormack closes in on Dave's dad. The gap between them is down to practically nothing.
Should things go awry, Cormac and Neil might find themselves giving a whole new meaning to the term tandem drifting, though I doubt they'd enjoy it as much as the spectators.
It's a challenging situation for Robert Cormack. They're sandwiched between their fierce competitors, D'Esch 0.1 seconds away and Neil Constable-Berry 0.1 seconds ahead. They'll need to stay sharp and find an opportunity to make a move. We're starting to see who really has the pace now in this race, as David is starting to climb all over the back of Dominic Fovargue. Any closer, and they may need to pop the boot.
Fovargue should get the lead out, Hal, otherwise their backside is going to look like the Japanese flag come the morning.
The intensity is off the charts as Snape hounds Hallam, both drivers pushing themselves to the absolute limit. An impressive showing from Snape, who has gained positions and left Jareth Hallam in the dust. This is what racing is all about. Two fierce competitors pushing each other to the limit.
This is what makes motor racing so exciting. The tension is high and the stakes are even higher. Who will take home the victory? It's too close to call.
Big gains for Jareth Hallam as they move up the field, leaving Rich Snape behind. Oh dear, Hallam has dropped down to 10th.
That's gotta hurt. Jareth Hallam will be kicking themselves right now.
Walters is looking for an opportunity to get round Martine Mole.
I might have said this before, but dog, bone, you know the rest.
It seems like Nigel is struggling. Their last lap time wasn't as good as Mole's.
It will be interesting to see if Martine can keep outpacing Walters.
Stokes is in the middle of a proper fight for third, putting everything he has into chasing down Fovargue, with only 0.2 separating them.
He's been surgical with his lines, but he needs to time that slingshot move perfectly before the draft gets disrupted by the leaders ahead.
Stokes needs to get more consistent. Sky, they have just put in a slower lap than Dominic Fovargue. Fovargue is right in the hunt for the win, sitting just a 10th behind the leader, Constable-Berry, as they trade paint in the final stages. Fovargue has snatched the lead. He successfully muscled past Constable-Berry, who is now left to scramble just a 10th behind.
That is a massive move for the lead. Fovargue is going to be defensive now, and at Talladega, that is the most stressful way to spend the final minutes of a race.
It's a battle of wills out there, each driver trying to outsmart and outmaneuver the other.
This is the moment where legends are made. These drivers will go down in history as the ones who fought tooth and nail for the top spot.
Oh, this is getting intense. Hallam is just behind Snape. Hallam is holding the 9th spot, but it is effectively a dead heat, with Snape right on his tail, neither giving an inch as they fight for track position. A great pass for Jareth Hallam as they pick off other drivers and move up the field. Meanwhile, Rich Snape has lost ground.
Yes, but Jareth can't rest on their laurels. They have to keep pushing to consolidate their position.
This is what racing is all about, folks. 3 fearless drivers pushing their machines to the absolute limit, inches apart. Walters has moved up to 5th, but he's got Maul hounding him for that spot, sitting just a 1/10 of a second off his rear bumper. Walters has slipped back a spot to 6th, and he's now got Maul hovering just a 1/10 of a second behind him, waiting for the slightest mistake. Snape is hunting for 8th, but he's got his work cut out for him, sitting 3/10 behind Hallam as they hammer through the tri-oval.
He needs to stop playing it safe. If he doesn't pull out of the slipstream to challenge now, he's going to find himself stuck in the queue all the way to the flag.
It's looking good for Snapes, who has gained places and put some distance between themselves and Jareth Hallam. Disappointing for Ricardo Snape-Easy. They now find themselves in 9th.
Definitely. But Snape is a skilled driver, and they have what it takes to fight back and regain that position.
It's like watching 2 predators circling each other, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. What a move. Norton has moved up to 3rd.
Absolutely. Elliott is really putting on a clinic out there, and they're making it look easy.
And Norton has just won the place from Dominic Fauvargue.
Absolutely, Hal. But there's still a long way to go in this race, and Norton can't afford to get complacent. They have to keep driving with intensity and focus.
Three cars, 3 different lines. They're jockeying for position, looking for any opportunity to make a move.
You hit the nail on the head, Hal. The elite drivers truly stand out in moments like these. They have a 6th sense for identifying weaknesses and capitalizing on them with surgical precision.
Heartbreak for Stokes as they slip down the field. Fantastic move from Stokes, who has just gained a position. The gap between Snapes and Hallam is razor thin as they vie for 7th in this nail-biting contest. Great driving from Snape, who has just gained a place and moved up to 7th. Tough break for Rich, who has just lost a position. Stokes is glued to the back of Norton, desperate to steal that podium spot with just 2/10 separating them as the tension continues to mount. It looks like we might get a battle between Baldilocks and Norton.
This is where the pressure really starts to build. Both drivers will need to stay calm and focused if they want to come out on top.
They're giving it everything they've got. It's a battle of nerves as they push the limits of adhesion, going wheel to wheel in a thrilling display of racing prowess. A setback for Elliott, who has just been passed. Norton is in the pits. This is wheel-to-wheel racing at its finest. The drivers are practically glued together as they fight for every inch of track. It's a battle you don't want to miss.
Couldn't agree more, Hal. This wheel-to-wheel racing is what fans live for. The determination and tenacity shown by these drivers to gain even the smallest advantage is simply awe-inspiring.
A great moment for Constable Barry, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings. We got a close battle as Fat Dog Phil closes in on Niall Geoghegan.
If Phil gets any closer to Gagan, they'll need to start sending out wedding invitations.
It's a tale of two drivers right now, with Bodkin gaining places and Niall Geoghegan losing them. Let's talk about tire degradation, Sky. How does it affect the car's handling, and what do drivers need to do to adapt to the changing conditions?
Tire degradation can significantly impact handling how. As the tires wear, the grip reduces, and drivers need to adjust their braking points, cornering speeds, and throttle application to maintain control of the car.
Wow, Chris Stokes is really pushing hard to catch up to Mull. There is blood in the water for 8th place.
If things go wrong between Baldilocks and Martine Mull, they could be exchanging more than just paint, like maybe a strongly worded post-race chat.
A brilliant maneuver from Stokes, who has just moved up the field.
Impressive. Baldilocks is really showing their skill and determination out there.
Oh dear, Chris has dropped down to 8th. Mull is pushing hard to close down Stokes in the fight for 8th, just 0.2 back as they navigate the closing laps. Mull has climbed up to 8th, but he's still got work to do, sitting 0.2 behind Stokes, who's looking to break away into 7th. This is what high-octane racing looks like. Jimmy Lindo is breathing down the neck of Jareth Hallam, not giving them any room to relax. What a move! Jimmy Lindo has moved up to 9th.
You can't argue with results like that. Lindo is really making their mark on this race.
Hold on to your hats, folks. Jareth Hallam is right on the heels of Jimmy Lindo, and we're in for a wild ride. Looking at the lap times, Hallam is not on pace with Lindo. Can they turn it around?
Can Hallam turn this around?
Mull is pushing that Nascar to the limit in 8th, trying to bridge the 0.3 gap to McFarquhar as we head deeper into these final minutes. On the final lap now, and Constable Barry looks like they might just wrap up this win.
You got this. Keep your cool.
And it's a checkered flag for David, who crosses the finish line with a commanding victory. What a phenomenal performance. Absolutely dominant today. A sensational drive from Fovard, coming all the way from 12th to cross the line in 2nd place. And what a stellar performance from Snape, charging up from 7th on the grid to clinch the final spot on the podium. Geoghegan takes a strong 4th, while the rest of that pack rounds out the order with Bodkin 11th, Tyus 12th, and Buntakis 13th.
That's a tough finish for Bountakis especially. After showing so much pace early on, to end up back in 13th shows just how brutal this track can be in the closing stages.
Martine Mull, Chris Stokes, Mac McFarquhar, and Elliot Norton claim 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Jimmy Lindo and Neil Constable Barry take 9th and 15th. With Jareth Hallam in 10th,